So what do you do when it's a holiday week and your guest cancels at the last minute and you don't have a guest, but you want to be there for your friends, your audience? What do? You wing it. So we're going to wing it today and we're going to do art talk. Now, we've never done art talk before, and this is not going to work without you. So we're going to do a talk show. We've never done a talk show. And the idea here is that you get to come on camera, or you get to put your questions in the comments, and we're just going to talk about art. We can talk about anything related to art. We can talk about your favorite artist, favorite paintings. You can talk about techniques. You can talk about problems, anything you want to do. But it's got to be about art, right? And it's got to be tasteful. So that's what we're going to do today. So welcome to Art School Live. Let's get this show officially started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhoads.
We're here every weekday at 12 noon, and our goal is to get you excited about art, to talk about art, to show art, to teach art, to critique paintings. We have all kinds of things that we do here on Art School Live. And we have a bunch of people in the comments, and we let you down yesterday. If you were a YouTube watcher, we didn't have a broadcast for you. We had a repeat on Facebook and some other things, but we're trying not to do repeats anymore. And so today, rather than not have a guest, we decided that we would just kind of wing it. We'll get on here and see what's going on. I don't have anything to teach. I don't have a setup that allows me to teach painting. And otherwise, I'd teach some painting. Maybe one day I'll get a setup like that. But for now, I don't have it. And as a result, we're just going to wing it. So if you guys are watching, we would love to talk to you, love to meet you. I see people from Norway. I see people from England, all over the world and all over the United States. Here's how you do this. You go to artschool.live/stream. And you can come on, just go there and just hit allow your mic, your camera, enter your name, enter your studio, things like that. Now, I am going to rely on you guys. I know some of you people, and this is your day to step up. Now you're like, I don't want to be on camera. No, you need to do it. So as soon as you can go to that link, we'll show you that link one more time again. I'll be saying it, I'm going to be like a talk show host, right? I'm going to say the phone number lots and lots. Go to artschool.live/stream. And so what do you guys want to talk about? You can go to the comments. You can talk about anything. I thought maybe to kind of prompt things out a little bit, I would see if I could show a painting, right? Because I love paintings. And let's see if I can figure out how to do this. Let's see here. Maybe I can do it. Share screen. Okay. So I want to talk about this image right here. If you're able to see that image, this is Alphonse Mucha. And I didn't know about Alphonse Mucha until I actually had an opportunity to go to a very special private showing of his paintings. Now, I don't know if you know the story, but Alphonse Mucha was an artist in Paris. And on Christmas Eve, 𝗘𝗶𝗁, who was this famous artist in Paris, needed some graphics done, a poster done for a last-minute show she decided to do. And she called everybody on Christmas Eve and said, I need you to do a poster. And everybody said, no, it's Christmas Eve. I'm not going to do it. Well, Mucha got called. He had never done a poster for her. He stepped up, he did a poster, and he essentially invented what is called Art Nouveau. And the first poster was a Sandra Bernhardt poster. Well, what we didn't know about Mucha, we all know him as his as the guy who did all these fabulous posters. Well, he was a fabulous painter. He did a thing called the 𝗘𝗶𝗁. The 𝗘𝗶𝗁 was, I believe, 12 or 16 giant paintings. You can see how big they are. And I had a chance to go see those things in person. He left them to the city of Budapest. And but he did not specify that they needed to be continuously shown. So they went into a warehouse And then they were in storage for many, many, many decades. And they got brought out of storage into a private castle. We were able to see them at the private castle the day after we saw them. They were confiscated by the city of Budapest to go into storage for another 100 years. And fortunately, somebody managed to get them out for a show in Japan. I don't know where they are today. But anyway, they're incredible painters, and he's one of my favorite painters. And so it's an opportunity to see what Mucha has done. Now, I don't know if I can show you. Let's see here. You're not seeing that. Let me share the screen. Let me just change this just a second. And I'll show you one of his 𝗘𝗶𝘁 paintings. So here we go. Hang on a second. I'm sorry, this is pretty clunky. Okay, so this is one of them. Now, this is quite a bit different than the Art Nouveau, and this is not my favorite one, but it's spectacular. And you got to imagine this has 30 or 40 figures in it, and it's 16 or 20 feet tall and 25 feet wide. It's massive. It's just a spectacular painting. Anyway, one of my favorite painters. I'd like to know who your favorite painters are, and we can talk about art today. Today we're doing a talk show at Art Talk, and there's a very always wants to be first, and that is Neil McMillan. Neil, welcome to Art School Live. We're winging it today, buddy.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me on the show, Eric.
Yeah, so we could talk about anything, whatever you want to talk about.
All right. What would I like to talk about? That's a great question.
I assumed you had something in your head when you decided to come on.
All right. I've got some questions I can ask you.
Okay.
How can artists use insights from neuroscience to create art that more effectively captures the viewer's attention, evokes emotions, and forms lasting memories?
Oh man, you're just like over the top.
I can ask you another one. You can pass on that one if you'd like to.
Well, listen, I'll just give you an opinion. There's so many tools, and we have a lot of art schools who are against modern tools. A great example of that, not to name names, but a great example of that is that there are a lot of people who are down on photography, the idea that you should be learning from life and studying from life and painting from life. And by the way, I totally agree with that. But sometimes there are moments when you've got to grab a photo. For instance, you're driving by something at 60 miles an hour and you grab a photo because you just happen to be there at that moment and there's this incredible sunset. It's not going to be as good as for life, but that's a tool. Photography was used by one of the greatest artists of all time, 𝗔𝗶𝘁. 𝗔𝗶𝘁 would bring his models in. He would do life studies with them. He'd do drawings with them. He also did photographs because it was expensive to have models there for, he's doing these giant paintings. He's doing them for weeks or maybe months. And so he had the photographs he could refer to. So modern tools, and today there are modern tools like AI, right? Modern tools, and this is not answering your question directly, Neil, but I was doing this painting of a waterfall, and I needed a reference image, and I started flipping through all my photos of waterfalls. I just needed to solve a certain problem. So I went into Midjourney on AI, and I said, I need a man sitting on a rock next to a waterfall, and it spit out an image, and it gave me 4 of them. I didn't like them. I pressed replay, and it spit out 4 different ones. And I grabbed one of them, and there was like one segment, one little inch of that photograph or that illustration. And I thought, that solves my problem. So I was able to kind of get an idea that I was able to paint into my painting. And so that's where using technology can be useful and valuable. So in terms of neuroscience, in terms of understanding human psychology, listen, the most important thing I think we can all do is to understand human psychology and understand that all paintings are emotion. Great paintings reek with, or maybe reek is the wrong word, but all paintings have emotion, Neil. And if we have the opportunity to make someone feel the story. I was looking at a painting this morning, and it was a couple walking down a path, and it was in this flower garden, and it told a story. You kind of make up your own story in your head, or it might be a sailboat tipping over in a storm, and the drama of the storm is scary. And the first thing that you think of is, oh, that had to be horrible to go through that. And so you're reacting emotionally to a painting or to a drawing. And I think that's where it works. So in terms of understanding neuroscience, um, there's a lot of stuff out there that it's too deep for me. It's probably not things that I would necessarily get into. I'm reading a book right now called Persuasion, uh, and and I've read it 3 or 4 times before, and it reminds you of things that you can do or say that help people kind of move to the next level on something. So, if I had something that would help me stimulate an idea for a story, if I wanted to do a waterfall painting and I wanted to do something in that waterfall painting to create some drama, then I might go to AI, or I might go to I might try to find a story that would relate to it. A lot of great paintings are about biblical stories or about Greek mythology or something like that. So Neil, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's one way to go.
That's outstanding. Thank you. I hadn't thought of using that. I've been using AI for art purposes, but not for creating images. I've used it for other purposes, but it does have some gaps in it, but it also can be helpful.
Well, it's getting very good. There's a couple of new AIs out. One of them is Grok from X, which is spectacular. And if you go to Mid-Journey or you go to ChatGPT, the levels keep getting better and better. And there's a point at which there's not going to be able to have a distinction between reality and video and reality and photographs. I needed an ad for Fine Art Connoisseur to put on something, and I needed an image, and I didn't have time to find an image, so I went into AI and I told it what I wanted to do, and it generated an image. And like 4 or 5 tries later, I got the perfect one, and I used it in an ad, and I'm allowed to use it in an ad because I pay for a subscription. And so there are times, but there are also times when I've used AI and people are like, oh, that's, the guy's got 3 hands. I won't get into politics because I don't dare, but there was a political candidate who had put some images out of the large crowds, and it turned out they were generated by AI. And so that's people had 3 eyes and four hands and things like that. So anyway, if you guys want to come on, Neil, I think we got you back here. You have any other questions?
Sure.
Or any topics, anything you want to talk about? What are you painting?
Right now I'm painting a portrait of my preacher.
Okay.
He retired, and so I'm trying to finish up his painting.
Okay. Do you want to show it to us?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Go get it. So you guys, anything we can talk about is terrific. We would love to see it. Okay. Neil's going to go get the painting that he's working on, and you guys, maybe we can give him some tips or some ideas if you want to do that. Also, if you have any questions you want to put into the chat, Amadine, my producer, is watching, and she will try to get them in here. Okay, we're getting Neil back. All right, so that's lovely. Hold the camera still so it will focus.
I'm having to look backwards at the.
Yeah. Okay, well that's beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And where's this going to hang?
So the church that I attend has a house across the street. After the services, that's where the vestry meets, and so it's going to hang in the house that's a part of the church.
Oh, that's lovely. And how far along are you?
I'm more than halfway, I think.
And what are the stages that you go through typically when you're creating a painting?
So I start with a 𝗔𝗁.
Okay,
That's
would you explain to people what a 𝗔𝗁 is?
a 𝗔𝗁 is you start with a dark, warm brown, such as burnt sienna or transparent oxide red. And I actually did start with a little bit of mineral spirits, 𝗵𝗁cie. I try to use as the least amount possible, but you start with a block in or a lay in, and using straight lines and angles or arcs and angles, you block in from the outside in. I think 𝗘𝗿𝗁 𝗧𝗹𝗸 called this the envelope method. Um, but you start from the outside and create a block in one color. And actually, I start with transparent oxide red and add ultramarine and a tick of lead white. And so then you block in the basic shapes and outlines and the geometry of the figure. And then you begin to lay in color. And you start with the strongest color. And you also want to key the strong light. So you take the strongest, whitest highlight and your darkest darks, and constantly evaluate your colors to the lightest light and the darkest dark and everything in between, and apply colors and look and mix. And I did do this with a photographic reference. This is the second painting I've ever done with a photographic reference. But it's moving along. It had this beautiful stained glass window in the back, and I'm still working on that. But and also his clothing has a lot more colors in it. So there are actually two different color harmonies in this painting. There's one that is the color palette that I'm using, and I also added manganese blue. The stained glass window has manganese blue in it, so all the ambient light has a little bit of manganese blue in it. But then also,
you know the story about manganese blue?
I know that it was really popular, and then it went out of production, and there's only one company now that still makes it, the genuine pigment. But as I understand it, it fell out of popularity in industrial use, and so paint makers had to suffer not having access to it. But
Well, that's it. So I took a group of people to the Old Holland factory in Old Holland, and they told us they talked to us about manganese blue, and that they're no longer able to get the substance that they make it with for whatever reason. I don't remember what the reason was, and they basically said, you know, buy it while you can, because and we're making a large run of it, but anything after that, it's going to go away. And so, you know, everybody bought 10 tubes of manganese blue, even though none of us ever use it. So,
it's an unusual color, but I'm enjoying mixing it. And we talked about quinacridone some time ago, but I added quinacridone to my palette for this painting, and I discovered a wonderful purple that I'd never seen before. So I'm using a deeper, darker blue than I've ever used. It's Rublev ultramarine blue green shade mixed with magenta, and it created this amazing purple. So I'm using purple and manganese in the ambient shadows, but the colors still need a lot of adjustment. There's iridescence in his prayer book that I'm still trying to work on. And
so one of the questions, you know, we have well trained our audience to learn about composition, and one of the comments in here is, Neil, what is the focal point? Do you want to tell us what your thought is, the focal point on a portrait?
yes, the focal point, obviously his face and his eyes, but I did plan a bit of visual pathway into this, and it's not exactly clear yet, but at least something that I did kind of plan was that he's given kind of a thumbs up. I had some criticism of his hand position, And I did experiment with his hands in a different position, but his glasses they hang around his neck. And so it creates kind of a nice loop. And actually it's not in here yet, but there's a whole set of colors. I can grab my reference if you want to see it, but there's a whole rainbow of colors that are on his vestment that I'm going to paint in, and it's a separate color palette. So the focal point is going to be I guess a pathway that travels around, and hopefully the glasses, there's an optical effect in the prismatic light that passes through the lens of his glasses, and it makes a really nice spectral effect that kind of points at his pointing thumb. So it hopefully is going to do kind of a spiraling effect that mostly focuses.
All right, do me a favor and point your camera to the left of him. I see something, looks like a ladder. What is that device there with all those rungs on it?
This is my invention. This is my maul stick support. My maul stick is in the other room right now. I can go and get it, but I use a fishing gaff, and it has a hook on it, and so I'm able to just hook it on here. So if I'm working on, one portion of the painting, I hook the maul stick here, and I'm left-handed, so I'm able to support my hand here while I'm working on it. And I also have one up here on the back, so at the top. So if I'm working on the right side of the canvas, I'll hook the fishing gaff into here and support my hand that way. But that way it doesn't tilt my canvas. So a problem that I had with using a fishing gaff for a maul stick was when I rested it on the canvas and supported weight with it, it would tilt my canvas one way or another, and the verticals in my composition would come out crooked. I can go and get the fishing gaff if you want to see it.
Oh, no, not right now. That's good. Well, Neil, thank you so much. And oops,
You're welcome.
Disappeared. Yeah, I think you're there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Okay. Well, we may have you back if we need more filler, as if other people don't come on live. But Neil, thank you. If you tuned in just now, let me tell you what's going on. Because of the holiday week we had yesterday, we ended up having a guest cancel at the last minute, and so we played a replay on some of the places, but we didn't play it on other places. And today we had a guest cancel. So, this is what happens on holiday weeks. People have the best intentions. And so we decided we'd just come on and try something new. So today we're doing an art talk thing. We'll talk about anything about art. We would love for you guys to come on. Just go to artschool.live/stream and then follow the instructions there. And we would love for you to come on. And otherwise, we're winging it. And so we can talk. I would love for somebody who is in someplace outside of the United States. I saw people from Norway, England. I'd love to know a little bit about you. I'd love for you to come on and do it. You just have to have a camera hooked up to your computer, and it would be great to just kind of find out what's happening. Here's a question. Is there a best way to plan a painting, please? I am waiting to paint a still life oil carrots in layered method. Okay, so let's leave that up there so I can continue to refer to it. Is there a best way? Well, no, there's not a best way. The best way is your way. And the best way is to try new things, to experiment with things. So like Neil was talking about, he likes to use a grisaille, which is when I was taught how to use a grisaille, and my instructor taught us to always do grisailles in a gray-green. And the reason for gray-green is because what is the opposite color of a flesh tone? Flesh tone typically being kind of an orange. Well, the opposite color of orange is what? Blue, right? Or green. So the idea is that if you got that gray-green underneath, and then you let it dry, and then you scumble in some flesh tone over it, it creates this incredible color harmony, and also gives, you get most of your form in with your grisaille, Neil happens to use transparent red oxide. A lot of people use transparent. Richard Schmid used transparent red oxide. It gives you a nice warm painting. Nelson Shanks at the studio in 𝗘𝗶𝘁 would use a kind of a gray, and he always had a gray ground because he felt that that gray would really make the flesh tones pop. So everybody's got their own way. You've just got to find your way. So in terms of how to plan a painting, what I think is really important is do a sketch and ask yourself, can you do 6 sketches? Let's say you're setting up a still life and it's the still life of carrots, right? So ask yourself, are there 6 different ways I can crop this and change the composition? Are there 6 different ways I can use the carrots to lead the eye into something? Because the carrots are going to lay down and then lead the eye. So play with it. I like to try to get at least 3. If I'm out plein air painting, I try to think of 3 compositions that might be a different way of cropping the scene or moving a tree or changing the mountain or something, so that I am creating a good painting. I was with Mark Feldman last week. He came in town and we went painting, and he likes to take a photograph of the scene and then he converts it to black and white so he can get the sense of the no-tan, the darks and the lights. And then, he'll crop it. He'll go in with his cropping tool and he'll crop it till he gets the composition the way he wants it to be. And then he'll leave that photograph up to remind him of what his composition is. So that's one particular way. If you guys have questions or you want to come on live, today we're doing an art talk. And the next question comes from Suzanne Webb. What is the magic key to making a painting go from a 2D look to a 3D look? I'm thinking it is light and shadows, but can you give me more tips on that? Yeah, I can. Let me see. One of the things I might be able to do is to pull up my iPad. Let's see if we can do that. See if it's in here. Hang on a second. We'll see if we can do it. It's not in here yet. Let me just see. Give me a second. Somebody needs to create a distraction. Okay, we have it on the screen now. Okay, so the question again is, what's the best way to create form? And you said with light and dark. Let's talk about form first off using a grayscale. So let's do a tree. All right, this is a tree. I know it doesn't look like a tree, but the way to create form is to have what I think is a strong dark. I'm going to show you something in a minute that will help reinforce this. And then you want to have a strong mid-tone. This happens to be, that's pretty close. So we'll probably get this a little lighter. Have a strong mid-tone. And then a strong light. And that probably would look a lot lighter if it were against a dark background. So if we were to put some trees in the background here, let me just make this a little fatter to make this go faster. So that helps, you've got some background here. And so what happens is you're turning the form. You can turn the form with a light, a medium, and a dark. And oftentimes the medium has increased chroma. You can turn the form, with increased chroma as well. And neutrals are a great way to turn form, right? So you can take a color and use a neutral. And of course, another way to create form is with values. So sometimes you can take 2 colors of the same value and put them side by side, and that will, let's see if we can find something of the same value. And you can kind of create a sense of form that way. So the way to create form is, let's just talk about form from the standpoint of this. So, the great exercise in creating form is to do a ball, right? And it's something everybody should do. A lot of people hate doing it because it's no fun. But essentially what you're doing is you're creating a ball and you're putting the most light here, which is here. And then there's less light, a mid-tone, and then less light and less light and less light, and then highlight. And then of course your shadow and the edge of your shadow. Um, so that's essentially how you create form, and everything has form. I'm going to reduce this so I don't destroy my thing. So everything has form. So if you're no matter what you're painting, if you're painting a tree, it has form. If you're painting a building, it has form. So you're creating the building by, dark here, a little lighter on top, a little lighter on here. That would also be a rock, so if you're painting a rock, that rock is dark, and then the part of it is light. So that's essentially what you're going to do to create form. So I hope that answers your question. And if not, then we'll go to another question. Anyway, that's let's see, we'll take that off screen. Rosemary, I appreciate all the rules, but am I wrong to not follow most of them when my paintings sell because people love that they're unique yet representational? I feel like a rebel. Rosemary, you are a rebel. Listen, there are no rules. There are guidelines, and rules are made to be broken. Listen, you're doing art. You're interpreting your neurons, what's going through your eyes, going through your body, in through your soul, and coming out the hand onto your brush. And everybody sees things differently. It's like if you ask somebody who was a witness at a car accident, you ask 5 people, they're all going to tell you something a little bit different. What they're looking for are some consistent themes. But, some people will say, well, he came from this side. The other person will say, well, he came from that side. You are an artist. You get to interpret. When I do my events in the Adirondacks, one of the things that's so wonderful at these retreats, we bring, I call it the catch for the day, right? Like our fish. We bring in our paintings from the day, usually 2 or 3 paintings, and we put them in a room, and then we leave them there all week. And by the end of the week, there's 1,000 paintings in there. And we all stood in the same places, and yet there's 100 of us who interpreted that painting differently, different colors, different shapes, different forms, different approaches. And as a result, we're putting our artistic license into play. There are rules, but I was with 𝗘𝗿𝗶𝗰, who is one of the world's great masters. He's a Russian master, teaches at the 𝗘𝗶𝘁 Institute in Moscow. He's a very dear friend, and I went over and spent time with him at his dasha, and we went painting every day. And, he said, there are no rules. There are guidelines, but I oftentimes, on Feedback Fridays, I oftentimes talk about composition and not putting things dead center. And we were taught, when we were kids in kindergarten, put the focal point right in the dead center. And camera viewfinders have that thing right in the dead center. So a lot of us have just gotten in the habit of putting things in dead center. The reality is some people do it really, really well, and a great composition could be dead center, or somebody can change the composition to someplace else and make it work. The rules are guidelines; they're not rules. And so you are not as you are a rebel, but you need to be a rebel. If everybody makes everything look the same, and if everybody does everything using the same methods, that's boring. So you go to a great school. One of the greatest schools in the world is the Florence Academy of Art. And Florence Academy of Art is going to make you go through and follow a very exacting process, because they want to teach you their process. And I have heard students say things like, yeah, but I want to develop my own thing. And they'll say, look, just follow this, learn this. And then once you get out of school, then you expand on it, but you get that foundational principle. And then you go to workshops and you try other things and you learn from other people. You watch videos, you go on YouTube, you do everything you can to get new ideas. because I've hosted this show every day for however many years since COVID, um, I mean, I've had hundreds of shows, and as a result, I've learned something new from a different artist every day. So there's different approaches. And so I think, you can try anything. There are no rules, so to speak. There are guidelines. All right. You are a rebel. Okay. All right. Let's see. I don't think we have anybody else on, but if you want to come back on, please do this. You can come on video. Have some courage today. Put yourself out there. Go to artschool.live/stream and then follow the guidelines. artschool.live/stream. And we tried to do this today because we didn't have a guest because our guest backed out. And so we wanted to be there for you. So today's talk show day, and we've never done this before. We're trying it out, but if it fails, I'm never doing it again. So maybe that's a good reason not to call in. But if you have questions, you want to get into something, please go ahead and bring those questions up. I think what I'd like to do is I would like to share something else. Let's see if I can find it. Hang with me a second. I want to share another painting because I just think this is a phenomenal painting. Can you see that? Okay, go into the comments. Tell us if you know who did this painting. Anybody know who did it? Let's see what you guys say. I just think this is a watercolor painting, and I think this is one of the most spectacular watercolor paintings I've ever seen in my life. Anybody know who did it? Take a guess. Sargent. Yes, that's right. It's it's Sargent, John Singer Sargent. Sargent was an incredible watercolorist. And his nephew, Richard Ormand, his grandnephew, told me that Sargent's favorite thing to do was to paint watercolor in plein air. And that, he got to the point where he was bored with portraits and bored with the society stuff. And his favorite part was doing plein air. And it shows here. I mean, I don't know how long something like this would have taken to get it this exact. I can't tell if there's any pencil marks in it. I don't think there are, but look at the brilliance of this, and not only the brilliance, but the drama of the light, the drama of the shade and the shadow, the dark spots, the purples, use of purples against the yellows, which makes for incredible harmony. I just think that's fabulous. I'd love for you guys to come in, tell us who your favorite artists are and why. I'm going to show you one of my other favorite artists today because I have to fill time, right? And so I'm going to go back in and show you one. This is, I wouldn't say I have an all-time favorite artist, but this artist is one of my favorites. So here we go. Let's see if we can find this. Do you see this painting? Okay, this is Antonio Mancini. Here we would say Mancini. It's spelled like Mancini, the orchestra director. This painting is so incredible to me. And I discovered Mancini in a private mansion when we had our fine art trip in Europe. We were going to private mansions and looking at artwork. And this was in a private collection. Not this one, but one similar to this. And I fell in love with his work because to me, it's so incredible because you don't see hardly any sharp edges in this. And everything is very impressionistic and very incredibly well rendered. And yet, and it's emotional, it exudes emotion. And yet it does not, it does not follow the traditional portrait path, such as what others have done, like what Neil was showing us. Now, I want to show you just one more from Mancini, if I can. And let's see if I can find that one. Hang on a second. Okay. Now, here we go. Hang on a second. I am just trying my best, and I'm just not doing a very good job of this. In the meantime, Amadine's got this up. You can go there and find something that you can go on screen with. This is another painting by Mancini. Now, this one is interestingly a little bit more tight, but again, very beautifully rendered. He, as he got later in his career, he would make the face very tight, and he would make the rest of the body more impressionistic, like what we saw before. So you would see nothing tight in that painting except that face. And I thought that was it's just one of my my favorites. I took a book of Mancini's work over to Russia with me. Last time I was there, I went to visit 𝗘𝗶𝘁 𝗧𝗹𝗸, who is the great Russian master portrait. He painted my portrait. And we did a video with him, which is spectacular. We've got another one coming out too soon. And anyway, I took him the book of Mancini's work because it reminded me of 𝗘𝗶𝘁's work. And he had never seen Mancini, and he went nuts. He just fell in love with it. And so make sure you look up Mancini and see what you can learn from him, because we learn from other artists. You know, you learn from copying. I did a wonderful copy of 𝗘𝗶𝘁 𝗧𝗹𝗸 one time, and it was so much fun. Now, I don't want to become 𝗘𝗶𝘁 𝗧𝗹𝗸, but it was very freeing to do that. To copy something like what I've just shown you would be really terrific. It's a great way to learn from the masters. So, okay, so let's see here. We got Neil McMillan back. Neil, what do you keep coming back? What's the story, man? You're the only brave person out there.
You suggested that I come back on the show, so I came back on. But
you have
I've got some more stuff.
No fear.
I can show you the sketch that I did for the painting that you saw.
All right.
You're able to see. This was just a small thumbnail sketch, and I had a value study around here somewhere, but I've misplaced it. But I did a small thumbnail sketch and a small graphite sketch.
Go back to that thumbnail sketch because I want to see that. Okay, so that sketch, you know, what I was going to say, and I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to offend anybody, but that sketch did exactly what I had suggested, or I was going to suggest, and that is you have a really good dark against his cloak, and you darken the walls on the side, which makes that stained glass glow much more. In the painting that you showed us, you hadn't darkened that much yet. And so I think that's spectacular.
Thank you.
Okay, is that it?
Oh, that's it. I mean, I've got plenty more I can show you. I've got a notebook that I've been working on.
All right.
So I showed this portrait as an underpainting. Is it able to? Yeah.
Okay, hold your camera still, please. Well, okay, what have we got here?
So this is the colors that I was telling you are on his vestment. But it's going to have a separate color harmony. So the palette on his breast is it's a complete color harmony to itself. And so I've got the color harmony of my palette colors that I'm using, and then it's going to also have a separate color harmony just on his vestment, which is going to be weird, but it's that's what I'm working on.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. All right, Neil, thanks again. If you guys want to come on, just go to artschool.live /stream, and then we can put you on. We appreciate Neil, but we need more people coming on too. Okay, Rosemary says, I love painting in acrylics. Why are so many people hesitant to use it or teach it? I can hardly ever find acrylic artists on YouTube. Well, you're going to be happy to know, Rosemary, we're doing an event called Rosemary Live. That's a good idea. That's called Acrylic Live. It's coming up in March. And Acrylic Live is all about acrylic painting. I'm going to go back to your question now. Well, put that question back on screen, please. The question was, why are not more people doing acrylic? Well, first off, I don't think that's true. It may be harder to find them, but acrylic, according to the manufacturers, is the #1 selling medium. Watercolor is the #2 selling medium. Oil is the #3. Pastel is #4. Gouache is #5. That may have changed recently, but I think that a lot of people paint in acrylic. Acrylic tends to be a medium that a lot of abstract modernists use. And maybe one of the reasons that they don't use acrylic is because it dries so fast. And if you're a landscape painter like me, one of the things that I've had trouble with is fast drying, because I like to model paint. I like to put paint into paint. And so there are times when I use acrylic, and I use, for instance, I oftentimes, especially if I'm outdoors, and I want to do an underpainting and I want it to be dry, I'll do acrylic underpainting. I learned that from 𝗄𝗶𝗁, who does that oftentimes. And as a result, it's dry and then you can paint over it. Now, you cannot put acrylic on oil primed linen. I don't think you're supposed to. You definitely can't put water soluble oil on oil primed linen. Maybe you can put acrylic on it, but acrylic on acrylic is best, because otherwise you might get some separation, from what I understand. I bought I bought some gouache, some acrylic gouache. I've been playing with gouache a lot lately. I love gouache. I'm experimenting with it and getting good results. Not as good as somebody like Scott Christensen, who is brilliant, but I've been playing with the acrylic gouache, and the acrylic gouache is really wonderful. And one of the reasons I think some people have gotten away from acrylic is because sometimes if you get the wrong one, it dries shiny. And sometimes people don't want it to dry shiny. Acrylic gouache dries matte. And I had a really terrific success with it. I took a regular gouache to Japan with me on my plein air trip. And I also took acrylic gouache, and I had less of it, so I didn't have all the colors, but there were times when I was able to use that. I am having great fun with it. Um, and, and they also have, there are now retardants, probably always have been some retardants. Open acrylics from Golden oftentimes have, they dry slower. They have a retardant in it, so that you can get that ability to keep things, to put things, together. Charlie Easton is going to be my co-host at Acrylic Live, and he does incredible acrylics. Look him up and see what he's doing, and you'll find that he's doing some amazing landscape paintings with acrylic. I think it's really just a matter, as you've figured out, it's just a matter of learning how to deal with it. In some ways, there's benefits to things drying fast. You just have to learn to put things over things, and it's a different way of painting. And so we're going to show you how to do that on Acrylic Live. We're going to show you how to do pastel on Pastel Live. So we have, let's see, what else do we have here? Mary Lynn Alba Caruba says, how about advice on being organized with art supplies? It seems like a no-brainer, but I'm looking for any tips. I have ADHD. Squirrel. You asking me for advice on being organized is probably not a good idea. Just saying. But here's what I do. First off, I went out and I bought, actually, I was at this restaurant, and they had these little metal trays. They're about 8 by 10, maybe a little smaller. And I asked them where they bought them, and they said they didn't know. And I said, well, can I buy them from you? And they said, yes. And then they gave them to me. They gave me like 8 of them. And I take, because, oil paint leaks. And so I wanted something. So I took those little trays, and I put a piece of paper under, cut out on each one, so it would absorb the oil, and I didn't have to clean up as much. And I have a tray for each color family. So I have a tray for reds, a tray for yellows, a tray for blues, etc. And that way, when my brain is needing to reach for a blue, I'm not going across all my stuff, unless I, of course, forget to put it back where it belongs. So that's one of the ways it works for me. I use trays. I also have dividers. I went to Hobby Lobby, and I got this thing with it's like a mail slot thing. And I like it so much that I bought several of them, and I have 3 studios. I have one in the Adirondacks, one in New York, and one in Florida. So I bought them for all my studios, and I keep my extra paints in there. So my extra tubes, and I color code them in there. I first saw color coding in Russia. The great artist Max 𝗄𝗏. Max had drawers, little file drawers, and he had a color. He only used like a 6-color palette or something. So he had, his red on one drawer. He had actually put the red on the handle of the drawer and yellow on the handle of the drawer. And so he just pull out the drawer and get the red. And so there's a lot of different ways you can do that. In terms of other art supplies, I don't know what you're referring to, but it might be, I have tons of things and I have tons of drawers filled with things and they are a hot mess typically. But you go to somebody like Neil, who's super uber organized. I'm sure he probably would have some good solutions. We now have Suzanne Silverstone, who's a dear friend who we became friends at, was it the Adirondacks or Fall Color Week, Suzanne? I'm not hearing you. Your mic is muted and we need you to unmute your mic. You can go in there and do it. There we go.
I'm echoing right now.
Yeah, you're back.
I'm echoing.
You're echoing
right now.
Okay, well, I'm sorry about that. Go ahead and ask your question. I'll take my screen out. Maybe that'll. Do you have a question?
I really was just going to show you. I was going to show you what I've done in. I'm sorry, the echo is bothering me. I'm going to. Oh no.
Well, if you just keep talking, Suzanne, if you just keep talking, we can hear you. We're not hearing the echo, but you're hearing it. It's probably going to drive you nuts. But why don't you go ahead and just start talking and show us what you wanted to show us, and then I'll stay off camera and maybe that'll help it.
If I may suggest, Suzanne, you may want to log out of Facebook. It's probably what you're hearing.
Okay, I'm off. So here I am. Let's see.
Where did we first meet, Suzanne? Did we meet at Fall Color Week? Or was it Adirondacks?
We first met in person in the Adirondacks, I think. But before that, I had been watching all the live events. So you've talked to me occasionally at those too in the chats. I have been working in all kinds of mediums, all the ones that are available, just trying this and that, mostly through everything I've done online with the live events. And I actually prefer acrylics at this point, but to do it realistically. So I want to show a few paintings that I have done. And I also, when I go out to plein air, I tried the open, but I was so used to the heavy body that I figured a way to work with that. And 𝗘𝗿𝗁, one of the people you're going to have on Acrylic Live, does it that way too. And I spent some time studying with him too through his Acrylic University online. And even more, I've learned how to work with it. And when I go to plein air, and I have done it even outside with the heavy body at 100 degrees in 𝗘𝗿𝗁, Texas, which was quite the challenge. And it's fine. It can work if you know the right things, which is mostly.
And is that where you are now? Are you in 𝗘𝗿𝗁? I see a mountain out your window.
No, I'm in the Rockies. I have a house in the Colorado Rockies, in the mountains. It was a house that my husband and I found just haphazardly, had been vacant for like 5 years, but it turned out to be an awesome house, and I spend all my summers here now.
Nice.
And if for those who follow me, my Dreamliner friends, on my posts and stuff, they see awesome pictures on a regular basis of this place, just under my name. So you can ask to friend me, everybody. Anyway, I'm going to show you a few, just to really say that golden acrylic paints, not just golden, but I mean, was it Jed uses Winsor Newton? There's others. And
they're all good.
Yeah, they're all good. And as long as you're using a professional grade, and you can create some great paintings. So I'm going to show you a few.
Okay.
Here's one that you liked. You liked, Eric. You looked at my post one time.
Yep.
And saw I do an underpainting, and then do the layers, just like oil. But you got to do it quickly because it does dry fast. But It's great. And as I've learned to paint faster, quicker, but it has gone very well. But also beyond that, it dries. You can paint over it again. So every medium has its good points, and it's has things you got to get used to, and it's got its good points. So
I am of the opinion more so than ever that that artists need to be willing to experiment with other mediums, even though you may have a primary. Some people primary is acrylic or watercolor or oil or pastel, but experimenting with the different ones, I think, opens up your brain and makes you more open to creative solutions. Okay, what else do you have?
I've got a few others. There's another one.
Beautiful.
And another one more, just to show that I can, I feel like I take on the challenge. I can create with this medium just as well as I can create with another. But when I watch all these masters, I learn. So
all right.
there you go.
Well,
and here I can do a pencil sketch too.
Hold it still. Hold it still. That's beautiful. Wow.
That's Harley Brown. If for anybody who's been watching all the pastel artists that have been coming through, he put an image of a black and white of a Native American, and I says, you know what, I'm going to do that one.
Nice.
So there it is.
Okay, now you need to convert that into a pastel painting. See how that goes.
Well, that's my next step. I'm going to do it in like the red, the sanguine, and I'm also going to do it as a pastel. So,
cool.
So
all
this,
right.
I just get carried away. This was supposed to be just a simple sketch, so didn't turn out that way.
So Suzanne, when am I going to see you next? We've seen you
I'm coming to Fall Color Week.
You are?
Yes, I am.
So I'm going to see you in a couple of weeks.
Just a few weeks from now. But I'm going to see Charlie Hunter first. He's going to be in 𝗘𝗿𝗶𝗰, Wyoming.
Oh, so nice.
I'm going to go see him for a few days. Oh my gosh.
Sounds like you're living the dream.
Just came up to the window and said hi. So it must be an omen here. I mean, a good sign. A hummingbird.
So because you've been to some of these retreats that we do, just tell people what you thought they were going to be and how your expectations changed once you got there.
I don't know if my expectations changed. I think I knew what I was
okay. Well, tell people what the experience. What's the experience?
It was my priority is to go someplace different and someplace beautiful. Okay. Natural beauty mostly, but I do like urban scenes too, but I thought the Adirondacks wasn't a place I had gone to before, and I wanted to see it. And I wanted to paint. I wanted to just savor it and go, see some different sights and savor the whole scene and not have to worry too much about anything. So that's what the retreats help with, because you're pretty much outfitted with, whatever you need food wise, whatever, you know where you're staying, you've got friends around you, and you just go. So that's what's been so great about it.
And have you made any friends?
Oh yeah, my biggest friends are my art school live friends, who because we talk together regularly, and I joined Dreamliners, and so we have a book club too. So those are my biggest friends, my biggest group of new friends.
Yeah, well, Dreamline Artist happened because of everybody getting together on this show and during COVID, and then when everybody thought I was going to cancel the show, they put together the Dreamlight Artist Group. So it's up to 4,000 members now, which is pretty cool. And so we love it that you guys get together and collaborate, which is very cool.
And the book club is a great asset too.
What's your current book?
We're going to be starting this week. We're starting a new one. There it is.
Okay. Terrific.
But some of the others, like our people that are from the art school lives, like Todd Casey this year. Last year we did Amy. Last season we did Amy Erickson, and it's awesome. we get to talk together about these and gain insight from each other. So it's a good group.
Well, what I
I
need
made
to
a lot
write a
of
book.
friends that way, and I do hope to travel with some of these people more,
Okay.
and meet up with them.
Well, you will love when I announce my next. I've got a couple of things I'm going to announce, and I can't say anything more than that, other than it's another opportunity or two to travel. And of course, I took a group to Japan. I took a group to New Zealand twice. Took a group to Africa, Cuba, and it's fun because we all kind of get to hang out and paint together. We also tour, and so a lot going on there. Well, Suzanne, thank you so much for coming on today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at Fall Color Week. And
I was
thank
going
you
to
for
try to
sharing.
show you the view for a second.
Oh yeah, do it. Oh my goodness, are those ski runs in the distance?
Yes, Vale and Beaver Creek, and that what you see there with the water and the roads is Edwards, Colorado.
Oh man, I
Right
want to
down
come
below
visit.
me.
I'm going to have to come visit you.
Offers open. Eric,
Okay.
time.
All right. Okay. Thank you, guys. Well, our experiment kind of worked out today. Thank you guys for coming on. If we ever do it again, hopefully we won't have any more guests canceled, but if we ever do it again, it's nice to see you guys that have the courage to come on camera and to be part of things and to ask your questions. We have developed a nice little family here, little family meaning there's well over 100,000 of you who have subscribed. If you haven't subscribed yet, go to YouTube. That actually helps us, but it also helps you because you get notified. You go to YouTube and look up Art School Live and subscribe. And then give me a follow on all the social media that you follow. That would be terrific too. It's at Eric Rhoads. And we just love the fact that you guys get involved. You meet here every day. We're here every weekday at 12 noon. We do art lessons Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday with guest artists. Fridays, we do Feedback Friday. That'll be tomorrow. Monday will be Art Marketing Monday, where we do art marketing advice. And we just love being here for you and showing up every day. Suzanne was talking about books. I'm trying to figure out how to write a couple more. And I would love you to go into the comments and tell us what you think I should write. I've got a book out called Make More Money Selling Your Art, and I might do another marketing book, but I was thinking about doing all the, Eric's universal principles of marketing. I'm not marketing, but of painting. And so anyway, I'm playing with ideas. I've got to get some stuff done because I can't get enough done. And so, life is short and then you die. So we got to hurry up and get this stuff done. Hopefully not too fast. All right, guys, make sure you check out Pastel Live. We would love for you to go. And also check out painttube.tv. Painttube has, it's either the world's largest or second largest library of art instruction videos. It's certainly uber high quality stuff. I was watching Don Demers last night on Painttube TV. And because I was struggling with some things, and he just solved those problems for me immediately. And there's some really great stuff there. So check it out. And we have a free gift for you. What's our free gift today? Well, we have 97 incredible art secrets. It's a free video. It's a couple hours long. You can get it online streaming, or you can watch it on DVD if you want. If you want DVD, you get to pay the shipping. 97artsecrets.com/free. Well, hey, thank you guys for being here, and thanks for tolerating us trying to fill time with an experimental talk show. And I think we got through it. And so maybe we'll do it again. If you guys want us to do anything, you have any creative ideas on what we can do if we have a guest cancel. Doesn't happen very often, but it happens. All right, you guys have a terrific day, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.